Today we're joined by our Forster of Death Worship, Domini Inferi, Blasphemy, Conqueror, and maybe even more bands. So today we'll be discussing the latest Death Worship record that came out on NWN, Reaping Majesty, and the upcoming US tour. So Ryan, welcome. We've known each other for 20 plus years at this point. So I guess it makes total sense that you'll be, one of the first guests for this podcast.
Yeah, we have a long history.
Yeah, I think we first met online, but the first time we met physically was at the live ritual show. And you were kind enough to kind of host me with Jay from Godless North. And
Yeah.
back then I was only like 23 years old or something ridiculous. So we've come a pretty long way since then, both of us. You're now living in Germany. I moved from California to Texas. But funny enough, we're still doing the same shit,
Yeah.
and still listening to the same music.
Yeah. Never
So
stops.
to start with, let's talk about Reaping Majesty. So this was initially recorded as almost like a rehearsal demo with the German lineup and released at NWN Fest in Tijuana with much less songs than the 12-inch has. So can you just explain to us, your intent for this recording and, how it ended up being so much longer on the 12-inch?
So Reaping Majesty, I decided to do that because with the German band, we kind of have a slightly different sound than what I was doing in the Fiasco Brothers recordings with Black Winds and Jay Reed.
Right.
And I wanted to showcase what the Germans could do. The Germans could play the song just as well as Jay Reed, and with me included and everyone together, we just thought it would be a great idea to show how the band sounds in the live situation. Like the way we recorded was pretty much live, and then that's the sound you'll get when we play live shows.
Right. Yeah. So just to clarify for the audience, the live lineup consists of Bloody Vengeance guys,
That's
and
right.
they're essentially session musicians for live settings.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I could tell you how that came about.
Yeah.
It was actually you. We were at a Nuclear War Now festival, and then you
Right.
said to go check out this band called Two.
Oh, right.
And
Yeah.
it was I
Mhm.
Infernal Invocation, but no one really knew what it just said Two on the logo.
Right.
And so I went to go check it out at the Blacklands in Berlin and saw them play. I was like, whoa, these guys could really rip shit up here. And so kind of kept in contact, lose contact. And then I moved to Germany. I got to see them live a couple times. I did a small mini tour and they passed by the city that I was in. And yeah, just hung out a bit, got to know the guys, and then time passed a little bit, and Cotton, the bass player of Death Worship and the guitar player of Bloody Vengeance, he and I really kept good contact. And one day I just passed the idea by him that I was thinking of doing a Death Worship live band, and maybe I could try out these guys, and they agreed.
That's good. Yeah, I met those guys. I don't know if you remember, but maybe you were there. I don't remember. It was right after the NWN Fest. They were sitting in a cafe at the train station across the street. I think it was 2010 or it was 2012. I don't remember. But it was at the old location, the one that was right across the street from the train. Yeah, the Post One Hop one.
Yeah.
And I just walked in there. I didn't really know the band very well, but that's when I started talking to them. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you can ask Caden about it. You might remember. Yeah,
He
they were just
remembers
eating.
everything.
Oh, you know what? It was Subway. They were sitting in Subway sandwiches.
Subway, wow.
Yeah, yeah. It was right at the corner entrance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. But since then, we've been talking about working together, and finally, last year we did the first release. I guess they consider it their first album, but I always considered it their demo since it only came out on tape. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we finally released. not to get derailed and start talking about
Yeah.
death, bloody vengeance, but yeah, we did this recently.
Yeah, that's my lettering on the cover too.
Oh, right. Yeah. You did the lettering on the cover and also on the jacket. You haven't seen it yet, right? Have you?
No, I haven't seen this yet. So
Yeah. I think
surprise
the
for you too.
factory's supposed to be sending the band's copies any minute now. So yeah, this is how it came out. Your lettering's on the back as well. Came out good. Yeah. And you wrote all the
All the lyrics out.
right? Yeah. This is all you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you were originally from Canada, Vancouver area.
Mm-hmm.
Did you grow up there?
No, I grew up in Edmonton,
Oh, okay.
northern Canada. Yeah, where Jay Reed lives right now.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's more center of the country, right?
Yeah, center of the country, center north, -30 in the winter.
Right. Yeah, Jay Reed calls it the Texas of Canada because it's more,
exactly.
it's kind of like
it is
middle of
actually.
nowhere. Yeah.
Cowboys and guns. Yes.
Right. Right. Yeah, it's a little bit more, I guess, more conservative and yeah.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I grew up there, and there was an import record store in the city center.
Yeah.
And so every time I got a paycheck from my crappy job, I'd go every Friday. I go every second Friday. I got paid, and I go to the import record store, and they actually carried everything. It was unbelievable when I look back at it. The stuff that they would carry. I don't know who was doing the ordering there, but they carried every cool underground metal stuff. Like INRI was found there. All
wow.
I found that there.
That's crazy.
All just sitting on the shelf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
the guys would recognize me when I came in. They'd actually recommend stuff to me and everything. They go, "Oh, we held this back for you because we thought that you'd like it." And it was like the first Deicide album.
Yeah. Did you meet Jay Reed back then?
Yeah, in that store too. I met him.
Oh yeah.
When we really first started to get to know each other. Like I see him live. I go to the cremation shows, and then didn't really talk to him or anyone in the band really. But headbang in the front row at cremation, the only band doing something like that.
Right.
In Edmonton at the time. And then one time I ran into him at this import record store I was talking about, and he had maybe Fallen Pages magazine.
Oh, okay.
Issue number 2 with Blasphemy on the cover.
Crucifixion guys zine.
Yeah. And so he had that magazine. I'm like, what the fuck? You have this? And so we start to talk and flip through the magazine. There's like the Herod interview, Blasphemy interview. I'm like, wicked, I listened to all this. And he goes, so do I. And I guess we just kept in contact after that.
Yeah. So then after that, you moved to the West Coast.
Yeah.
Was that to join Blasphemy from there?
No. We were living in Edmonton, Jay Reed and I, and Jay Reed wanted to leave the city.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, you know what? What am I even doing here? I had no family, nothing there. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to come with you. Change of scenery. So I moved with him to Victoria.
Okay.
Which is on the island on the west coast of Canada. And yeah, we lived there because we knew about the Ross Bay Cemetery. We were listening to Blasphemy. We're reading like Michelle Remember's book and whatnot. And we heard about all these satanic rituals. And so we're like, okay, we have to go here and check it out. And I remember he moved first, like a month earlier before me. And he brought all my stuff in his van. And then I flew there on the airplane, and he picked me up at the airport. And instead of going to the apartment that I never been to yet, we're like, let's go to Ross Bay Cemetery. So we drove straight from the airport to Ross Bay, checked it out, and I'm like, whoa, and then went back and finally saw where I'm gonna live and whatnot. Like we had priorities.
Right. Yeah.
Ross Bay was a priority.
Right.
Shit where I sleep.
Well. Yeah. So basically that was the inception of well, actually, that was even before Conqueror, right?
Yeah,
because you were still doing Domini Inferi.
Yeah, and so Jay Reed was trying to continue cremation, and I was thinking of doing the Domini Inferi still.
Right.
But things weren't working out with both bands, and then we're sitting there with each other. And we're like, well, wait a minute, I play guitar, you play drums. Let's just try out some stuff, and then started to show him some riffs, and we started to talk about ideas, and then suddenly Conqueror.
Was Sven living in Victoria at the time, or did he stay?
He came like a year later, but he only stayed for a couple of months. He checked
Okay.
it out. He didn't really care, so he left again.
Right. Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's just for the audience sake. Sven played in Domini Inferi with
Mhm.
Ryan, and he eventually formed War Command, right,
Yeah.
on the West Coast. Yeah, that was
No.
kind of a short-lived band.
Yeah. Back in Quebec, in the east
Oh,
coast, in
Quebec.
the east
Okay,
side
yeah,
of Canada, he made War Command.
yeah, right,
Yeah, he moved back to Quebec. He came from French Canada, and he moved back to French Canada.
right. Yeah, yeah.
And I had contact with him up until about 2 or 3 years ago, and then he was on Facebook, and then all of a sudden decided I don't need social media anymore, and I haven't
Mm,
heard from him since.
yeah. Well, social media is kind of a curse and a gift at the
Yeah,
same time.
yeah,
Makes
exactly.
communication much easier, but you end up being a slave to it. So I can sort of understand.
Yeah.
So tell us about the rehearsal sessions for Conqueror because that's kind of famous now at this point. Legendary storage space, rehearsal space.
We had 2 or 3 rehearsal spaces, and they all were cursed. Like the first one was in a storage garage way out of town. It took like, if you had a car, it'd be 40 minutes in the car, and sometimes we'd have to take the bus. And so we'd just be sitting on this bus for 2 hours trying to get to the rehearsal space.
Wow.
And uh, it's like, I don't know if you ever seen this Morbid Angel video where they're all practicing in this garage. It's
Oh
like
yeah. Hmm.
old days rehearsal that they're doing. And we had that exact same scenario. It was an outdoor kind of place. It
Hmm.
was a storage locker unit place, and the landlord let bands rehearse there. So we found that place and we started there. But it was just too far and out of the way, so we moved into the Victoria City Center. And then at the time we were kind of poor, so we
Hmm.
rented this really small room, and you could barely fit the drum kit and my amp. And then I'm standing like this playing, and so that's where we conceived a lot of stuff. But we're playing, and mice are running around the floor, and
Fuck, that's harsh.
yeah, it was just a nightmare there. And then other bands would sit outside,
Hmm.
and we open the door and be like, "What the fuck are you guys doing?" Because they never heard such like extreme
Yeah.
blasting
Yeah. Yeah.
and what had it. And
Chaos noise.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was just so mind blowing that people were actually like sitting outside listening to it. We're like, what the hell? This is so weird. And then we moved, and then I remember it caught on fire. The warehouse caught on fire,
No fuck.
and we were called, like, whoever called us and told us that the place was on fire, and we're like, all our equipment, the drums, the amps, everything's gonna get burnt. And so we ran into the city center and we saw this fire, and they put it out, and somehow it didn't touch our room. So
Ah,
we are able to move everything out, and like really minor damage, just smelled bad. Everything just smelled bad,
right.
like burnt smoke. And yeah, we somehow made it through that. But yeah, we just wrote everything there, and it was a 24-hour place. So what we do is I go to work, and I worked at this night shift job. So I get home at 3 in the morning, and Jay Reed would be sitting there, go, let's go rehearse now. And so quickly change my clothes, get in the car, go rehearse, and then till 6 in the morning or something. And then we get home, listen to the tapes,
Hmm.
and then we'd think, okay, well, that part sounds cool, but it would sound cooler if we did this. And then the next night we go back and do it again.
That's crazy.
Yeah, we
So
were
you
like
didn't sleep
totally
much.
dedicated. No,
Yeah.
no, sleep was not an option.
Yeah. How come you guys never recruited a bass player?
We tried, but it's also kind of, if you remember 1996 times,
Yeah.
everyone was into like keyboard black metal. If you're into
All
black
right.
metal, you're into like the
Yeah,
big
yeah.
Satyricon or something,
Hmm.
and it just didn't mesh with us. So the only people we met was cool people there in Victoria, but then they weren't musicians. Or if we met a musician, then they were into Cradle of Filth or something, and then
Right.
it just wouldn't mesh with us. And then when we try to explain what we're doing, nobody could put their mind around it. We
Yeah.
had
I mean,
someone for like a week, but then you heard what we were playing, and then never showed up again.
right. Yeah, I guess in '96 there were only a handful of bands playing the style.
Exactly.
It's like Bestial Black Metal, basically
Yeah.
Bestial Warlust.
Yeah.
Abominator was.
Yeah.
Were they
Abominator.
still?
I got the demo at that
Yeah.
time. Yeah. And
What is it? Destroyer 666 maybe?
yeah,
Yeah,
they
there
just
weren't
started
too
out
many.
too. They just started out. Violence is the Prince of the World. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Hmm.
there
But
weren't too many bands back then. It was
yeah,
just
you're
all,
talking all Australian bands.
yeah, Australian bands were holding it
Hmm.
down, but Americans weren't doing that at the time at
No,
all.
no.
South Americans had completely forgotten how to play that kind of
Yeah, they were
music.
already getting entranced by the keyboard black metal too.
Right. Yeah. European
Yeah,
black metal was completely taken
yeah.
over.
But when we think like, yeah, USA, I had some contact with that guy from Masochist.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but then he died. But I
Yeah.
don't know if that's so bestial. Dead
No, that
Christ.
wasn't too bestial. That was, I mean, that was more like American black metal, like Pro
Yeah,
Fanatica or something.
yeah.
But
Dead Christ.
I guess War Hate was doing something.
Warhate. Yeah, I had
Yeah.
contact with Warhate too. And
Yeah.
then later on, you did the Warhate Domini
Domini
split.
Inferi, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Because yeah,
yeah.
he's still around. He writes me once in
Really?
a while. Yeah, yeah.
Wow. I didn't
Yeah,
know he was still around. I lost contact
he's
with
up in
him.
the Seattle area, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Hopefully I see him then
Yeah, yeah.
next couple of weeks. Yeah.
At some point he was playing in a band with the Weregoat guys, and
Yeah, I
it was
remember that.
called Goat Lord Corp or something like that. Or
Yeah,
Goat
I remember
Lord
that.
Inc. or yeah, something like that.
Hmm. Yeah, they
But
told
yeah,
me.
yeah, I guess back then there wasn't much of anything. It
No,
wasn't this big trend of bestial
no,
black metal with
no.
goats and whatever. Just like there was a big surge of it in the 2000s. It sort
Yeah.
of died off now, but there's still a lot of bands.
Yeah. When a good band in this style pops up, I see a lot of hype. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Someone just has
uh,
to deliver.
yeah, yeah. I mean, there aren't too many left that I can think of that are still
Hmm.
playing that style well. You know,
Hmm.
a
There's
lot
some
of the
good,
bands kind of died out. Like
yeah,
Blasphemy is
yeah,
gone. Bestial Raids is gone, although
yeah.
he has a new band called Benefices. I'm
Hmm.
sure I'm mispronouncing that, but yeah, not as many bands as we used to have in that
No.
style. Yeah.
And then good live bands like Abysmal Lord.
Oh yeah, Abysmal Lord is just next level.
Hmm.
There, I used to think that it was a little boring, like Proclamation style.
Yeah,
No offense to them, he's a cool guy, Matt. But now that he's incorporated some mystifier weirdness
yeah.
to it, now it's much better. Yeah,
Agreed. Yeah. But yeah,
yeah.
I'm sure if I dig deeper, you're gonna also do the next Nuclear Hammer stuff. Nuclear
Oh
Hammer.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Nuclear Hammer's still good. They're doing something slightly different, or
Hmm.
sort of trance-inducing bestial black metal.
Yeah.
Very
Perfect.
repetitive and long-winded in a good way.
Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
last album was recorded 100% analog, and we cut it 100% analog too. We sent the reel over to the factory and they cut it.
Killer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that
I
sounded
really like
good.
the sound on that. So
Yeah.
now I know why.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, if you look hard enough, there's some good bands still.
Right.
It's just that you have to dig so deep now.
Right. So yeah,
They're
so
all
going back to Conqueror, in 96, you guys were rehearsing in various places. One place burnt down. You guys kept them going. And then finally Antichrist Superiority demo was recorded
yes.
at the Fiasco Brothers, right?
No, no.
No, that
We
was
did
not
that
Fiasco.
ourselves.
Oh,
There is
okay.
this, that's a weird story too, because James found a recording studio, but it was in the middle of the forest almost in the north of the island. So we had to drive for like an hour out of Victoria north. And then this guy was there and he looked like a Beatles fan or something. I don't know. He had like Harry Potter, John Lennon glasses, and I don't know, just some guy. And he goes, okay, push this button to just start the recording, push this button to stop. And he said, play some drums, and he made a mix for us. He goes, okay, bye. And then we just sat there for 10 hours and made the whole demo.
Oh, wow.
And yeah,
So
he
it was
didn't help us or anything. We
mostly,
just did it ourselves. We had to figure out, oh, I guess the guitar's a bit too loud here.
oh,
Yeah,
wow. So you have
yeah,
to do the engineering and the recording,
yeah,
running
yeah,
playing at the same time.
Yeah.
That's kind of crazy,
I
but
push record and then start to play, and then yeah, we clip it up and do everything ourselves. We had to like learn on the fly.
that's crazy that he would just leave you in the studio like
Yeah,
that.
and then he came at like we got there in the morning, and he came at 10 at night, and he banged on the door. Okay, my kids are trying to sleep, so you gotta go. And then that was the end of the recording.
Wow. Well, the final product sounds awesome. So I guess you
Yeah,
guys
somehow
knew.
it was just triumph of the will. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
no kidding.
Hmm.
It's one of the best demos recorded in the 90s.
Yeah, and then War Cult we did at another studio. It wasn't Fiasco either. I
Yeah.
never recorded at Fiasco Brothers
Oh.
until Death Worship.
Huh.
But the War Cult Supremacy album we did at this famous punk rock recording studio. I don't know if you know like SNFU and
Oh yeah.
Dagon Abortion and these kind of bands.
Yeah, yeah.
No Means No or something. They all recorded there. And it
Huh.
was the only studio that we could find that would understand what we're doing, because like it's 1996 and we were walking into the studio and we're like, here's how we play. And we
Hmm.
show them Antichrist Superiority demo and they're like, whoa, 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 I can't help you. So finally we settled on this punk studio, and this guy was able to help us, and he
Hmm.
understood what we were going for. He's into Slayer and whatnot. So that's who we
Wow.
used for War Cult Supremacy. But also that place closed down now too, and now it's a Sikh temple.
Oh, really?
It's a Sikh
Wow.
temple where, because I had some friends in town and we went to Victoria to check it out, Ross Bay Cemetery, and
Hmm.
my friend asked me, "Hey, where did you record Conqueror?" I said, "Oh, it's just up the street here. Let's go have a look." And then we walked up, and instead of the studio, it was a Sikh temple.
Wow. That's
Yeah, so
weird.
yeah, it's gone now.
So with the demo, did you guys dub them at home and just spread them around to
Yeah,
different labels?
yeah. I went to the local pawn shop and I bought like this dual cassette player
Right.
and a couple boxes of blank cassettes and sat there and taped it, and then went to the copy shop and made photocopies of the cover.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like that's just the way it was done back then.
Yeah. Do you remember how many were spread?
Nah, I could tell you 200 or 300 maybe. But then
Hmm.
we got signed to Evil Omen Records, and
Right.
we
Evil
immediately
Ludo.
stopped selling the demo right after that. We're like, why do you have to do all this work folding up demo tapes all day and throwing them in the mail when the
Right.
album's gonna come out anyway? So,
What about I think Ian Harris from
oh
Australia
yeah,
also made some copies, right?
yeah, yeah. He printed some pro ones, but I think there's
Right.
only 50 copies.
Yeah.
That guy still talk to you? Like order stuff?
He orders for me once in a while, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, he's
I
around.
haven't had contact with him in a long time.
Yeah. Yeah, he came to visit us in San Francisco one time.
Oh, killer. Yeah.
Yeah, I took him to all the good record stores, and
Oh
I
yeah.
remember we went to Rasputin Records, and we were flipping through the records, and I pulled out a $300 record price at $6, Brockus Helm, Black Death.
Oh
I
yeah.
showed it to him, and he's so bummed out.
That's what
Yeah,
I
yeah,
never went shopping with friends at the record shop.
yeah,
That,
yeah. Oh yeah,
that
that was
happened to me a couple times too. So after that, I was like, okay, no more friend shopping. I'm going
yeah,
alone.
that guy was a total maniac though, didn't he? I
Yeah,
think he was spending some time in Europe, but he got
yeah,
kicked out by the EU for
yeah. He got kicked
overstaying.
out, and he flew up for one of the Blasphemy shows in year 2000.
Yeah, I
Flew
remember
all the way
that.
from Australia to see
Yeah.
Blasphemy, and it was the cool show where we had strippers opening for us.
Oh yeah. Was
Yeah.
that the Black Witchery August one, or was it
No,
a
no,
different one?
different one.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah, but he
that's
flew all the
crazy.
way up to see it.
Yeah, he was a maniac for sure.
Hmm.
Yeah, so Evil Ludo was doing from Evil Omen, he was doing the fan club, right? The
Yeah,
Blasphemy.
Blasphemy
Yeah,
Sarcophago Fan Club. So
right.
we sent him a demo, and he's immediately like, we sent him a demo because of his history.
Right.
Like, really, okay, this is a Blasphemy Sarcophago guy. Now he has a record label. Let's send him the demo and see what he says. And immediately, like as fast as the mail could be delivered, he wanted to sign us. So we got a letter
Right.
back from him, and we were like, okay, yeah, this sounds good. Evil Omen Osmos Productions.
Right. Yeah, he
Yeah,
was kind
sounds
of
good.
like he was working with Hervé
Yeah,
and Osmos for distribution and manufacturing at the time. Yeah. I
exactly.
remember that. Yeah.
And then he put out this flyers and everything for War Cult Supremacy. It said coming
Yeah.
in February 1997. And then all of a sudden he sent a new flyer coming in September 1997. And we're like, well, what's going on? And then it turned out that he spent all this money on that band, Demoniac,
Oh, from New
from New
Zealand. Yeah.
Zealand.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess that was a failure. So
Oh,
all this money was dumped into this second album, Stormblade, I think it was called.
yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it was a total failure, and he had no more money to,
Yeah.
put
That
it
was an
together.
infamous album when it came out because it had a title that I can't really say on YouTube here,
Yeah,
but yeah,
yeah,
a funny song title, let's just say. And I
hmm
think that was pretty much what killed the label because they
yeah,
couldn't sell that anywhere. I
yeah,
remember when it
exactly.
came out, and it was like,
Yeah,
I can't believe this is sitting in this Rasputin.
yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, that's too bad.
hmm And
He's
so,
still around though.
yeah, he's still around.
Yeah,
He orders Blasphemy shirts and stuff for me. He's
yeah,
still, yeah. But so the album sat there for a while, like 3 years or 4 years. War Cult Supremacy was just in limbo because
right.
he couldn't release it and no one could afford to buy it, I guess. And then
Hmm.
finally, the Black Witchery guys, they're listening to War Cult Supremacy every day on this dub tape that I gave them.
Right.
And so they got in contact with John from Full Moon Productions and said,
Oh yeah.
"Hey, it's this has to be released." And John said, "Okay, I'll do it." And then he put it out, but he didn't even change the layout or anything. It still has
Right.
the Evil Omen logo on it, and
Yeah, I remember that.
yeah. So it's confusing for everyone.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I guess I keep the confusion up with like Reaping Majesty,
Right.
still like confusing release too.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Mhm.
it is what it is. But there was okay, so the split with Black Witchery, the reissue of Antichrist Superiority, that came shortly after, right? I think on Dark Horizon,
Yeah.
if I remember correctly.
hmm
Yeah. How did that come about? Was that through Inquiri?
Dark Horizon was working with Black Witchery,
Yeah,
and
for that
they
seven
wanted
inch.
to
Yeah.
split, and they offered Black Witchery some band that they didn't even like. They're like, "What's this band? It's gonna be
Hmm.
on side two. No way. We have a different band that we're gonna put on side two."
Right.
So he offered them Conqueror, and the Dark Horizon got in touch with us, and we used Antichrist Superiority for side two
Right.
of the Black Witchery split. Yeah, but it
Yeah.
was just luck because of the original band they're going to use. I couldn't I couldn't tell you who they were, but unfortunately, the Dark Horizon idea wasn't good enough, so Black Witchery changed it.
Yeah. I mean that to this day, that's one of the best splits ever
Yeah,
recorded or released, I guess. Yeah.
yeah. I still get people asking about that.
Yeah. I mean, I later reissued it
hmm
before the compilation of Conqueror was done. Yeah. Yeah, that's one of my favorites. Yeah, it
Cool.
just flows really well from Conqueror to Black Witchery.
Yeah, yeah. We were total brother bands, and
Yeah.
same with Black Witchery and Blasphemy.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
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 Black Witchery needs to do something. I don't know what they're up to these days. Yeah.
yeah.
Indrath lives in Texas. He's only like hour and a half from me, but I haven't seen him yet. In 2 years, I haven't seen him. So yeah, I don't know what he's up to these days.
Yeah. Hopefully they do something.
Yeah, and Daz is now living in New Mexico, so I guess
New
rehearsing
Mexico.
is becoming, yeah, rehearsing is now more difficult.
Yeah, but
So the album came out much later. By then, you guys were already broken up,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah. So when was it released? Like 99 or 2000? Somewhere around there, right?
yeah. Probably 2000 by the time I got my copy. So
Right. And you were already playing in Blasphemy then
yeah,
by the
I
time
remember
Conqueror
actually.
came
Yeah, it
out.
was. Yeah, I remember the records were delivered. I remember getting a slip in the mail and then having to run to the local 7-Eleven to pick up this giant box of records. And
Right.
the workers were mad at me for having to lift up all these records. I had to haul it home in this big box and then check it out. Yeah, it was. Oh yeah, that's another story too with the Death to Mankind and
Right.
Merciless.
Right, yeah, the two editions came out in Europe at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, also in 2000. And
Mm,
so, yeah, I remember we did the Godless North tour, and I got to meet Volker from Merciless Records, and he
right.
said that his copy sold easily, no problem. All 500 that he printed were gone. But then the Death to Mankind guy was crying that no one bought his because Merciless had better distribution. But yeah,
Yeah.
Full Moon licensed it to both labels at the same time, and
Yeah, that's weird. Yeah, that
yeah,
was a weird. I remember it coming out, and I was confused by which one to buy, and ended up getting
yeah,
both.
yeah. That
Yeah.
was even we were. It wasn't up to us, and we even asked John. We're like, "Hey, what's going on?" And he goes, "I own the release. I can do what I want with it." So we're like, "Okay,
Huh.
you got the rights."
Yeah. That's weird. So, can you tell us about how Conqueror ended up breaking up? Was it just because the album took forever to come out? You guys were
Yeah, we
losing
lost a
interest?
lot of momentum because of that, but
Yeah.
we're still writing new songs. We had four unreleased songs, maybe five, four for sure. And
Huh.
then we were living on this island in Victoria,
Right.
and we're like, okay, this city sucks. There's no shows. There's nothing going on here ever. Police were harassing us,
Yeah.
and we're like, okay, this sucks. And so James wanted to move back to Edmonton, but I wanted to move to Vancouver, check out something new. And so we're like, well, what are we gonna do? And we're like, well, just go where you want, and then we'll take it from there. And so we're like, okay, cool, no hard feelings or anything. I'll go my way, you go your way, and then I ended up in Vancouver, and then a week later, I was rehearsing with Blasphemy. As soon
Hmm.
as they found out I was living there, they're up. My phone's blowing up, and they're like, "Hey, come rehearse. Let's
So
do
they
this."
already knew about Conqueror at the time.
Yeah, that's another good story too, because I had the Antichrist Superiority demo,
Yeah.
and there was a show in Vancouver, and it was Cannibal Corpse of all bands. I'm like, well, I'm gonna go to the Cannibal Corpse show, so I made 10 copies of the Antichrist Superiority demo,
Hmm.
and I went over to Vancouver and went to the Cannibal Corpse show, but I wasn't really expecting to see Blasphemy. I was like, okay, if I see anyone in a cool shirt, I'll give them a tape, spread the word a bit. And then I go up to the club and I look, and there's the Blasphemy guys, and they have their own section of the club, best seats in the house, like a little. I can't explain it. It's like a little box that they sat in, and no one
Yeah.
would go around them. You just see these big guys and their friends sitting there, perfect view of the stage. And so I was like, whoa, uh, I guess I got to try to go give these guys some demos. So I went up to them, and I remember I gave Color Storms a demo, and Black Winds, Three Black Hearts is there. And then also one of the Antichrist guys out there, Antichrist drummer.
Yeah.
And I gave him a copy, and he said, I'll give you the new Antichrist recording in trade. And this is way back in 1997.
Right.
And I said, okay, cool. I'll wait for the trade. Here's my address. But he never sent me the album
Yeah.
until 15 years later.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's when you dubbed it for me, and I was
yeah,
like, we gotta
exactly.
release this. Yeah.
Hmm. And
Yeah.
so, anyways, I see the Blasphemy guy. I give him a tape, but I didn't think much of it. And so I came home, and then about a week later, I checked my mail at the PO box, and there was a letter from Black Winds. And he goes, "Holy, not I don't normally listen to demo tapes when people give them to me, but for some reason you made a good impression, so I put it in. This is the best thing I heard in years." And he goes, "Man, you got to come over and hang out. Here's my phone number. Give me a call." And so I
Hmm.
gave him a call, and we just been in contact ever since.
Yeah.
And so,
And so when you guys when you ended up moving to Vancouver,
yeah,
they found out somehow and recruited you into Blasphemy.
yeah, they were already itching to play again, but there's only Calder Storms, Black Winds, and Three Black Hearts.
Mm.
And Calder Storms had a house at the time, and so the guys would go over, and there's a drum kit there and some amps, and so they'd start to play, and then sometimes I'd be invited over too. Before I lived there, I was in Victoria, and I'd come over and stay at Calder Storms' place, and we'd play some songs, Slayer or Sarcophago covers, and then yeah, it just they knew what they liked my music and I liked their music. So when they found out that I was available and they had that itch to get back on the stage, they decided to recruit me.
When did Kelly Bestial Savior join?
One day we were rehearsing as a four guys,
Yeah.
as a four piece. And one day, Three Black Hearts pulls up in his car and he has Bestial Savior in the passenger seat, and he goes, "We got the bass player." And
Yeah.
but he was always involved with the band since day
right.
one.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
gonna say that. Yeah, I mean, he's been an old roadie going all the way back to the Wild Rags days, so it makes total
exactly. And
sense.
even before that, yeah,
Yeah.
he's always been around. So it
Yeah.
just made total sense. So Three Black Hearts made the right call and brought him along one day.
Yeah. And just for the audience, Kelly Bestial Savior was also in a band called Tumult. That had just one demo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, he's still around. He still goes to the shows and whatnot. He was at
Yeah.
the New Now
Yeah, he
Festival in
was in
Tijuana.
yeah, he was there. I saw him. I didn't even recognize him at the time. It
Mm-hmm.
was he looked totally different. Yeah. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
yeah.
so
That's cool. So from there, I mean, I guess you're one of the longest members,
yeah,
right? Of Blasphemy, besides the old members, besides the original members.
yes,
At this point, you're going on 25 years almost.
mm, yeah, coming up.
Yeah. So what are the chances of them recording at this point? I know we've
Uh,
talked about it before, but
yeah, you have to leave it up to them. Like, uh, it's hard to say, but like, Death Worship, for instance, wouldn't have existed if Blasphemy was doing new music.
right,
Because I had the itch to keep writing and playing stuff. So,
right.
and I wasn't getting it through Blasphemy, so I had to expand and start a new band. But yeah, those guys are doing stuff still in Vancouver. They are writing, so
Yeah,
we could see what happens in the future. I don't know how far it'll go.
yeah. Yeah, I gotta keep on bugging Jeff to record
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
I think
He's
that's the
buying new
key.
guitars all the time and all the latest equipment to do home recording and stuff. So he's doing something.
Yeah,
He'll probably surprise us all one day, and yeah, we'll hit it up.
yeah. So to confuse everyone, you also have Domini Inferi and Dominum Inferum.
Yes.
You want to just talk about the inception of Domini Inferi and how Dominum Inferum came back?
Okay, Domini Inferi. Uh, my first bands were like crappy thrash and death metal, whatever the trend was at the time.
Right.
We didn't really have our own thing going at the time yet. And
That
then
was that was in Edmonton? Like
Edmonton, yes.
yeah.
And then we had a full four-piece band, and we're doing suffocation style death metal as good as we could, like this
Right.
chuggy stuff. And uh, I was just playing in the band because I wanted to be in a band. And then finally, I started to write riffs at home. I'm like, yeah, this has nothing to do with suffocation or Cannibal Corpse. This is something else. Like, I guess I was already into Beheard and Blasphemy and whatnot, so I started to write in that style. And uh, the other out of the four guys, there's me, Sven, and two other dudes. And the two other guys, when I started to bring these kind of riffs to the rehearsal, they're like, "Hey, man, this is not what we signed up for." So they quit, and Sven was just a vocalist.
Mm.
And then everyone quit, and the drummer left his drum kit at the rehearsal spot. So Sven started to play my riffs with his drums, and we were like, yeah. And we started to do some cover songs and stuff to get Sven up to speed. And within a couple months, Sven was drumming like really competently.
Oh wow. So
And so
he wasn't a drummer until he just started
no, no,
jamming around. Yeah.
yeah, it was just because of the drive to make some music. He said, okay, we need a drummer. I guess I'll learn how to drum.
Yeah,
And yeah, we got really good at
that
it
type
fast.
of drive and desperation is
Yeah,
what made old metal good. I mean, if you listen
yeah,
to stuff from
exactly.
Brazil, it's really incompetent, musicianship, but the feeling and the songs are all there. Like we
Exactly.
used to listen to Necrophago in the car. That
Yeah,
stuff is
in the
as
car.
incompetent as
Yeah.
you can get, but all the feeling and all the parts are there to make it
Mhm.
special. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was us too. We wanted to do music, and we had this. The riffs were starting to come out, and Sven was into my vision too, and so we made Domini Inferi, and uh, we were friends with Cremation, and so we had this idea to do a Domini Inferi Cremation split 7-inch,
Right.
and on our own label. We're gonna start our own, put it out ourselves,
Hmm.
do it all, take control. And then, because we had enough contacts in the underground, we said, we could get it printed up, get it distributed, no problem. Let's just do it ourselves. So Cremation recorded some songs for their side of the 7-inch, and then we recorded that song for our side of the 7-inch, Awaken Beast Most Foul.
Right.
And then what happened was Sven was getting really hyper antsy to do some music, and then this guy Bernie from Lust popped up,
Right.
and Lust needed musicians, so he was practicing with them. And then a lot of times I'd say, "Hey, it's time to practice with Domini Inferi." Oh, I already scheduled a rehearsal with Lust,
Mm.
and so
Okay.
yeah, we started to drift apart a bit there
Yeah.
because of time constraints. You couldn't commit to both bands with 100%.
Right.
So yeah, we couldn't record any more of the songs. We wrote quite a number of songs for Domini Inferi, maybe 6, 7,
Hmm.
8.
Did you
And
end up
then
recycling some of those riffs for Death
I,
Worship?
no, I recycled a couple for Conqueror.
Oh, okay.
I did use a couple of Domini Inferi riffs in Conqueror, but
Okay.
I haven't used them in Death Worship or Dominum Inferum. I don't know. Maybe I'll look back if I can find the old rehearsal tape.
Yeah.
I'll see if there's any good parts in there that I could use. But
So
anyway, so yeah,
whatever.
Domini Inferi.
Mhm.
We did that one song and then kind of drifted apart while Sven focused on Lust, and then I moved out of the city, so that was it for Domini Inferi.
Right.
Yeah,
Whatever. Before I forget, I'm kind of bouncing around here, but whatever happened to those 4 songs or whatever that got never recorded for Conqueror? Did those songs get recycled for
yeah,
Revenge?
yeah.
Yeah.
Revenge used Superior on Revenge is a old Conqueror song,
Okay.
and Genocide Conquest
Okay.
is a Conqueror song. Yeah, so at least 2 of the songs got used, and they're
Yeah.
still really good. I Last time I listened to that rehearsal tape and the other 2 songs, there are still some really good riffs.
Hmm.
So yeah, maybe I'll snatch some of those up too in the future.
Yeah. Maybe use them for Death Worship.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. We had a whole second album planned. Like Command for Triumph was going to be one of the songs on the second
Mm.
album, and then those 4 other songs. So we were almost written the second album, but yeah, again drifted apart. It was a
Yeah.
different time back then. Like if
Yeah.
yeah, if
Yeah. It
you need
wasn't as easy to record back then.
exactly,
Like
exactly.
people could just
Recording was a
record.
pain.
Yeah. I mean, if people were recording at home, it would be just like a 4-track or 8-track with
Exactly.
a single mic, or it wasn't as easy to record and or mix for that matter.
Yeah. And so back to Domini Inferi, I always had this like I like the militant, brutal black metal, but I
Right.
also like dark black metal, and
Hmm.
so can't explain what I mean really like dark black metal, but this vision I have in my head, and so I had something different in my head for many years, and finally this pandemic came,
Right.
and I was stuck at home. No, I wasn't scheduled at work, so I said, okay, I'll sit at home and try to figure out all my recording equipment. Like I had some programs downloaded, and I have this 8-track machine, and so I figured out how to use it. I'm like, oh, this is pretty easy actually, and so I started to write riffs and put it all together, and then the Dominum Inferum demo started to take form. And at first I was gonna say, well, I'll just use these for death worship, but then I was like, nah, they don't really have the death worship vibe. I guess I'll go with my other plan to do this separate dark black
Yeah.
metal.
Yeah, and
And
it's more of a
yeah,
solo project. I mean, a
yeah,
true
solo
solo
project.
project. Yeah.
Yeah. And so yeah, I wrote everything, I did everything myself, and it was all done in my apartment.
Right.
Yeah, because nothing in the world was open. So, and
Right.
my original plan too was to put it all together and then get a full band to record it all with me, re-record it. But
Hmm.
then it sounded pretty good to me. I was like, well, this sounds actually usable. So
Yeah,
why
yeah.
bother
I
all
mean,
these other
for a
people?
demo, I think it sounds perfectly fine.
Yeah, yeah. I was like, why bother with other people? I'll just do it myself. And
Yeah,
so yeah, and so I'm working on more of that stuff too at the same
that's
time
awesome.
as more death worship.
Yeah. Yeah, the pandemic was kind of like uh, a gift that just kept on giving for
Yeah,
people who were productive,
exactly.
because it
Yeah,
gave us more time to do whatever we wanted,
yeah,
freed us up
yeah.
from
It
work
really freed like
responsibilities.
that actually changed a lot for me too, because like us putting 40, 50 more 60 hours sometimes into work every week.
Yeah,
And then I'm like, when I got that free time, I'm like, what the hell am I doing with my life? Wasting all this time at work every day when I could be doing music, what I really
yeah,
wanted to do.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that
And so
was
now I switched
people.
everything around. I only work part time.
Yes, a
And
lot of people hated it, but I fucking loved
yeah,
it.
I
It
thrive too. I
Yeah,
thrive. Yeah.
everyone was complaining about having to stay at home or whatever,
Yeah.
but
Big deal. Yeah.
I no more commute for me, and I could concentrate almost 100% on the label.
Yeah. It really
It
worked out
was
well for
actually
me
a
too.
good time.
Hmm.
I mean, especially for NWN, we were able to save enough money to move to
Hmm.
Texas during that time. 'Cause California was just kind of falling apart, especially the Bay
Yeah.
Area. It
Hmm.
still is. I love watching those videos of just rampant crime and
Yeah.
total chaos and nihilism in the Bay
Yeah.
Area.
Yeah.
If I was young, I'd probably join them and loot the
Hmm.
stores myself. But
Yeah.
I'm
Take a
not
shit
young
in the street.
anymore, and I got family, so I can't really do that
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
So I'd rather have this kind of peaceful lifestyle in Texas these days.
Hmm. But yeah,
So
pandemic worked out for me too. It was
yeah,
awesome. Sleep when I want, wake up when I want, write music all day, listen to
yeah,
music all day. Yeah, it was perfect.
yeah. That's not to say that I want them to bring back the lockdown
No,
anymore,
no,
because that was
no,
a
no.
pain in the ass, and
Yeah,
like not having live music for that
yeah.
long kind of
That was the
sucked.
only That was the only
Yeah,
downside for me too.
yeah,
No
yeah.
Blasphemy shows and no shows to go see.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Tijuana gig for Blasphemy was one of the first ones, right? Or did you guys play in Canada? I don't remember.
After the pandemic, yeah,
Yeah,
that was the first show.
yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Okay. Well, you guys
Hmm.
sounded really good for a band that hadn't played in so long.
Yeah, yeah. And plus now we all live, except for Colorado Storms and Black Winds, live in the same city, but the rest of us we're all spread apart now.
Right. Yeah.
Mm.
Surprisingly, it sounded perfectly fine. Sounded super
Yeah,
heavy.
yeah. We were able to rehearse a little bit.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Thanks to the Infernal Conjuration guys for
Infernal
letting
Conjuration.
Blasphemy rehearse in their space.
Hmm. And it was awesome. They made some barbecue and everything, so
Yeah.
it was a great time.
Yeah. Tijuana was pretty chaotic. You guys
Hmm.
got robbed, right?
Yeah,
By
yeah.
the police.
The police robbed us.
Yeah.
Uh, Long story, but anyways, me and Cotton from Bloody Vengeance, we were walking down the street and alone on from the hotel. We were just gonna hit the 7-Eleven for a couple of minutes, grab some stuff, and then get back to the hotel. And just in that 100 meter, whatever, 100 yards uh, time, some police pulled us over and took us for a ride around town and emptied our wallets.
Oh, I didn't know that he'd actually put you in the car.
Yeah,
Fuck.
yeah. He put us in the car. He put Cotton in the back in the jail part, like
Wow.
the cage part, and then
Wow.
put in the front seat. And he goes, I'll free your friend, but it's gonna cost you. And he drove us all around Tijuana, and he dropped
Wow.
us off in the middle of nowhere, and we had to walk all the way back to the hotel.
Wow, that's fucked.
Yeah, these
Yeah.
corrupt cops. I knew what would happen too. I was like
Yeah.
talking to the guys about these corrupt cops in Mexico because it happened to me. I was visiting with some family and we went to Mexico, to Cancun, to the resort.
Right.
And also when I went into the Cancun, the cops took some paper from me that you need to get out of the country. You
Mm,
fill out this form and then you have to give it back to them to get out of the country because it has a
right.
stamp. And he took it from me. And then when I got to the border, I had to pay $100 to get out of Mexico.
No, yeah, I guess
Yeah,
that's their scam.
yeah,
Yeah, they're criminals on both sides there.
yeah,
I knew
exactly.
it was gonna happen to somebody. I just didn't think it
Yeah,
was gonna be you and Caden. That's too bad.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We got it, but whatever. We laugh about it now, and you
Yeah, I
can't do
guess it
anything.
makes
It
a
just
good
sucks
story.
how powerless.
Yeah,
Because me, I could have took the cop was just some short guy. I could
right.
have broke his head right there. I could have put an elbow in his face and he would have dropped. But then there
Yeah,
would have been hell to pay.
yeah, you would have been
Yeah,
getting
you have
chased
to
out
go
of the
along with
country.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh well. So how did you end up in Germany of all places?
It was always a plan. Like I knew I could get my German passport.
Right.
And so I always wanted to expand. In fact, even living in Vancouver, I thought Vancouver would be a temporary thing. But it
Right.
ended up being like almost 20 years living there. But uh, I always knew I could get my German passport. And then I heard when the EU formed,
Mm.
European Union, I was like, okay, I guess if I get my German passport, I can live anywhere I want in Europe. So it's always on the list of something to do. And then yeah, I met a German girl, and
You're part German?
yeah, my father's German.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, and so
So,
that's my real name on the screen.
all right, right, right.
Yeah. Hmm.
So he already had a German citizenship, so it was easy
Yeah,
for you
yeah.
to
He
migrate.
never became a Canadian, so it was easy to just get a German passport.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I didn't know that.
yeah. In fact, it was kind of funny because I just wanted to inquire. So I went to the German embassy in Vancouver, and then I walked up to the counter and I said, "Hey, I just want to know if I could get a German passport. I heard I could, but I just want to make sure." And then the woman said, "Okay, just fill out this form." So I filled out the form. Took me a couple of minutes, and I gave it back to her. He goes, "Okay, you're German. Go downstairs, get a photograph. We'll get your passport." I'm like,
Wow.
"Well, not easy." So I went downstairs, got a passport photo
Huh.
made, brought it back upstairs, and then they mailed me my passport.
Well, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Did you speak a word of German?
No, couldn't even speak of it,
Huh.
except for the common words, of course. But
Yeah.
yeah. Mhm.
So you learned the entire language since moving there?
Well, I'm not fluent, but
Yeah.
I can get around. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it's not exactly an easy language to learn, so
No,
I'm
it isn't for
pretty
an English
impressed.
speaker. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
They say German efficiency, and I'm like, this is the most inefficient language I've ever seen in my life. How do they get the efficiency tag put on them?
Yeah.
Hmm.
How long have you been living there at this point?
Well, on and off for 5 or 6 years.
Okay.
Like I was flying back and forth to Vancouver all the time. So,
Right. Yeah, I remember that.
yeah, but then since the pandemic, let's say, I got stuck here.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, let's jump forward to the tour itself.
Hmm.
I grabbed the flyer here, put it down. Where the hell did I put it? Yeah, I dropped it. So we have the US tour coming up. Um, we set it up with Bloody Vengeance since they're basically your backing band anyway,
Yeah.
and Backsax Access since Patrick is a good friend, and
Yeah.
I've also worked with Backsax Access in the past. So how do you feel about the tour?
Yeah. Killer. Can't wait.
Yeah.
First time actually I ever played a show in the USA will be, I guess, the
Oh yeah, that's true because Blasphemy can't play.
yeah, Blasphemy guys can't come in, so
Yeah,
I never had a chance to play USA.
yeah.
And so yeah, I've been to shows down there. Remember, I flew down to San
Oh yeah,
Francisco.
yeah. For
So
Abigail gig, yeah.
Abigail and Morbosa Dad, and
Right.
yeah, remember that Abigail show with Chris Ryford in the front row headbanging?
Oh yeah, it was Chris Wyford and Joe from Vaughn in the
Joe
front
from Vaughn,
going
yeah,
crazy. Yeah,
yeah, that was
those were the
awesome.
days.
Yeah,
Yeah, and that was at the Gilman Street, I think.
yeah,
It's
which
a
also
famous
Blasphemy
punk group.
played.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's insane. Yeah, I remember watching that video from, was it 1990 or
Yeah,
91? I don't remember. Yeah.
1990, I think. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, and it's surreal to see Blasphemy
yeah,
performing in a punk venue like Gilman. It's still there.
yeah. Wow.
And now it's like this crazy, super politically correct. Blasphemy could never play there anymore, you know. Back then punks were really punk rock and nihilistic,
Hmm.
and now they're just, very
Yeah,
sensitive people. But
whatever the government says.
yeah, exactly. Now they're following the government.
Yeah,
Back then they were anti-government.
anti-government. It's so
Yeah.
funny. Hmm. But yeah, Blasphemy played there, and then I got to go there to see that Abigail show with you and
Yeah.
Chris Crawford and Joe Vaughn. Yeah, that was
Yeah, yeah. I saw Riker not that long ago. They played the Autopsy played in Austin. Uh,
cool.
that was pretty good killer, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Good to see those guys.
yeah, yeah. Always good. Even the new album sounded pretty good to me, believe it or not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's never bad. So you guys are playing in Chicago,
Hmm.
Seattle, Los Angeles, Austin, Texas, and New York City.
That's right.
All the tickets are still available, and the links are on my website. So if anybody's interested in going, and you should be because the bands are killer, please go to the respective cities to see them.
Yeah, should be good. Chicago will blow everyone away.
Yeah,
Like I'm really confident with this Death Worship band. These Bloody Vengeance I guys are crazy.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Such
When
good
I saw you
musicians.
guys in Tijuana, it just sounded really good.
Yeah, yeah, they're really good. I'm glad how it all worked out with these guys.
Yeah. Will you record with Jay Reed again with
Yeah,
Death
that's the
Worship?
plan for the next Death Worship recording. It's going to be with Jay Reed if it all
Yeah.
works out for you, of course.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think
Yeah,
the plan was to fly him over to Berlin for a bit. And
yeah,
or not
exactly.
Berlin, Leipzig.
Leipzig, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So what's next for you? Like in terms of all the various bands that you're doing, what's the next thing on the plate?
I'm trying to write new stuff as we speak. Like I took a part-time job, so I have a lot of free time every night, and so it's good to sit with the guitar and try to come up with stuff. And yeah, we're playing these shows next week. We're leaving, and
Yeah.
then after that we have a Death Worship show in Austria, and then one in England early next year, and then Japan.
All right.
Yeah,
Wasn't there a gig in Israel that was already was did that
yeah.
pass
We
already?
have a show in Israel
Yeah.
in October, and so uh, yeah, everything's organized with that one. The flights are purchased, everything. So yeah, we'll be in Israel to play the show with Backsax Axa also.
Right. Yeah.
Hmm. So it's almost like a continuation of this tour.
Yeah.
We'll
And I'll
we'll
see you
finish
in
this and then
December in Berlin and then
yeah,
April in Osaka.
exactly.
Yeah. That's gonna be is that your first time in Japan? Or will that
First
be
time.
your first
Yeah,
time? Yeah.
first time.
It'll be a culture shock, uh, probably, but
Yeah,
food is really good.
I've been to Asia before, but not Japan.
Yeah, you guys played in Thailand, right? Yeah.
Oh yeah, been to Thailand. Yeah.
Is In Coffin still setting up the Death Worship gig, or did that fall through?
No, he's still in touch.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So
So
let's
that'll
see.
be good.
But maybe we shouldn't say that because I don't know if you revealed who's playing yet.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah,
Yeah, he
yeah.
revealed that there's going to be a festival, but not the bands.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I think that we're reaching the end of the conversation here. Is there anything else do you want to tell the audience?
No, I just hope to see a lot of Americans in the mini tour coming up.
Yeah.
We're in Lombard, which is the neighborhood of Chicago, I guess, a suburb.
Hmm.
And so that's September 8th.
Right.
And then Seattle, September 9th. And then we take a few days off
Right.
while we wait for Backsaxa guys to come to USA and meet us. And then we'll do the last 3 shows with Backsaxa.
Right. Yeah, and Backsaxa will also play Chicago and Seattle as separate
That's great.
gigs. Yeah.
Separate shows.
Yeah.
Just
So
the way our
all of
schedules
you
have to work.
maniacs, American maniacs must come to these gigs, otherwise you're a fucking poser.
Yeah, it's been a rare occurrence. I don't know when else we're gonna play the USA.
Right.
Yeah, so it's do or die this time. Now or never.
All right. Well, thank you very much as usual, Ryan. It's always good talking to you. I guess I'll catch up with you in a couple of weeks when I see you in Austin.
Exactly. All right.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right.